I'm going to say hi and welcome to the Adversity Psychologist Podcast. I'm really excited today. Am I allowed to have favourites? So I have someone really special on today. I have Chris Willoughby, and I'm going to let him introduce himself because I will not do you justice. So hi, Chris. Say hello and let us know a little bit about who you are, what has brought you on.
Hello, Tara.
Hi.
Tara. I suppose I'm an actor and a writer and a comedian. So I kind of, I was 25 and I decided I wanted to be an actor because I just had I think I'd had a breakup, and I was like, God, I've got to do something with my life. I was working for a toy salesman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, really bad toys. Not those type of toys. Like tat.
You promised you weren't going to make me laugh.
Sorry.
Children's toys.
Oh, wasn't it? Yeah, like little pound Chesington World of Adventures kind of stuff.
Yes, I have drawers full of that downstairs. Yes.
Yeah, so I was selling that, and then I sort of split up with this girl. I was in this little office in a warehouse, and I thought, I want to act. I just want to act. So I found this school in the Yellow Pages, I think it was, and I auditioned, and it was like a 2-week audition process, and I got in, and then it was like it was crazy. I had to kind of 2 years. That was every night for 2 years.
That's dedication.
Yeah, because you had to pay for it myself, so it was kind of I had to work in a day and then pay for the classes. But it was the best thing I ever did, I think. It taught me to be me.
What did it lead you to? So if people haven't already heard of you.
Well, I don't think anyone would have heard of me, to be honest. I'm like a nobody. But there was one of my directors for a project at the acting school. He asked if I'd ever thought about doing stand-up. And I'd done one gig once after a show, but I hadn't planned anything. It was just like I just thought I'd just take the mickey out of all of the cast and what they'd done, because there was one guy had farted on stage, and I thought I'd give him some stick, and then so I kind of got a taste for it doing that, and I knew I could kind of sort of think on my feet quite quickly.
Yeah. I love that. I'm in awe of anyone who can do that.
Well, I mean, it's the only thing I can do. Like, I can't do maths. I'm quite good at spelling. So I ended up doing a comedy course, and I met some of my best friends doing that. We still one of my friends I still write with now, and he's brilliant. We've always got something we're working on. So we both ended up writing a show after a bit of depression, and that's something I never thought I'd do. Like stand-up wise, I wasn't like a gigging. I don't do gigs.
Yeah.
So I just did like an hour, and hadn't tested it on anyone. Just thought I would do it because it made us laugh. And did another one last year, I think. So it was a bit. And that's all off the back of depression, really. So
and that's what's brought you on here. So we only met 2 weeks ago, didn't we? Through a mutual friend. Well, 2 mutual friends, actually.
Yes.
I like to say we just hit it off. We had a fantastic time. I had a really, really nice time.
It was very funny, wasn't it?
Off the back of that, we'll leave it there. Off the back of that, we got talking, didn't we? Because I never quite switch off my work hat. And you have a really interesting backstory. And something that you're working on at the moment really, really interested me. So we've been talking about that a little bit, haven't we? That your lived experience of depression, you've kind of brought that into your comedy, to your work, but you've also kind of realised, or it's made you think a bit more, which I love, about how people have conversations about mental health. So that's why I was like, I need to have you on my podcast, because there's so many things there. There's the kind of lived experience, getting people talking, but if it's all right to say getting men talking as well, because we know that's a demographic that it is harder to get engaged. And what I'm kind of interested in is whether you could tell us, I want to know what you're working on now, because I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. Are you comfortable telling us a little bit about what you're working on at the moment and how that is trying to address conversations around mental health or well-being?
Yes. Where do I start? So essentially, the thing I'm doing at the moment is with your help, which is going to be amazing.
So a tiny bit of help. This is all you.
I know, you're pushing me. Is I did a show called Superman, but that came off the back of when I was depressed and quite in a low place. One of my friends, April, she's lovely. She suggested I do something like on Instagram, because I, as a creative and a performer, kind of, you've got this like internet thing now where you can do stuff, and
absolutely
quite like making people laugh.
And you're good at it.
Yeah. So I started. I decided I'd review tinned soup. Because it was sort of cheap. Not anymore. Right, got some here.
I saw your Instagram post the other day. Yeah, the cost of living crisis has impacted tin soup.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the thing. It was like there's so many soups, and so I had a little format that it would be like, the look of the soup, the taste, and I'd sort of speak a bit on how I felt that day, and I'd stopped drinking. So each video, I mean, the first videos were like, oh my God, I look really bad. I was like, hello, welcome to Chris's Soup Reviews. I want to die while I'm eating this soup. And it was like, and then you could kind of see a notable change in how I looked and how the videos were becoming more like happy to do them and more comfortable talking about how my feelings, about how I felt. And then one night, I think I went to someone's birthday party, and it was one of those things that I think if I'd have been drinking, I would have been like drinking, having a cigarette, and I never would have spoken to the person that I spoke to. So I spoke to this lovely lady, Nikki, and she was sort of in charge of some fringe stuff. And I said to her, I think I've got an idea for a show called Superman, and it's about mental health, and it's like five soups in each, and each was like a point in time, and also on stage there was a live soup review, which was fun.
I love that. It is, which sometimes a bit of humor. Sometimes humor can help with difficult conversations.
Yeah,
difficult topics.
Yeah, because I think it's such a subject that especially as a bloke, as a man, I think that making it a bit more accessible through realizing that you can maybe laugh about it. It's because it is. I mean, it's so serious,
right? Yeah.
But so I ended up doing the show. And I remember, I think after one of the shows, this girl came up and with her boyfriend, I think, and she was like, he was suicidal like not long ago, and she was like, he just wanted to say like the show really, it was lovely to see someone talking.
Wow.
So that was like, oh God, that's nice,
Quite a moment.
And then so now, yeah, it was lovely, yeah, and also like being like standing up doing something that you love, but also being able to talk. I think about a subject that we know that was pretty tough, but great. I mean, I remember before I went on stage, I was like, But then when you're out there, that was
Which is
good.
understandable, isn't it?
Yeah. What was the thing? Oh, the soup reviews. No, talking about mental health through soup.
So it's like kind of the brainchild behind, obviously with your Instagram, and the brainchild behind getting people talking. But it's all right to share. We had a conversation about this, didn't we? That it is quite hard. When we look at the demographic, we know that men are less likely to share if they're struggling. We also know men of a certain age are actually at higher risk of suicide at the moment, according to statistics. It's hard to talk when you're face to face. If somebody sits in front of you, how are you? It's really hard sometimes to honestly open up. So one of the things that we got talking about was, what a great idea when you're doing it over an activity, or some people may know in the other part of my job, I do walk and talk sessions in my community. It gets people talking, but it takes the pressure off. And that's what I really love. And I think that's why we really connected over this. And I had to get you on this podcast, is your really innovative way of tackling some very, very serious, and we'll come on to something else in a bit, won't we? But, some really serious issues around mental health, and the demographic that we know it's harder, but in a way that has a little bit of humor, which we know can help people to lean into talking, but in a less kind of confrontational way, through soup, which I've never had in this podcast before. I'm really glad to bring in soup.
Yeah, I think because when I was doing like live soup reviews in the build up to doing the show, and there was do you remember there was this like lockdown thing?
Yes. Yeah.
So
if you scroll back to episode 1 of this podcast, that's when it started. Yeah.
Is it? That's the thing. A lot of people started. So I started doing live soup reviews, and I had sort of guests on, and because there no one was out on a Friday night, she couldn't go out, so it was perfect really, because people would actually watch it. But I remember I had I was with Kevin Bishop, and we were having a bowl of soup, and it was just I kind of this is it's just like breaking bread, isn't it? Just talking, and it kind of disarms people as well. It's quite
absolutely.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And and then we'd sort of review the soup together, and go through. I'd teach them the bread dip stuff, but then just carried on that conversation, and it was so that's kind of like the idea, I think, for this podcast. That we're gonna call it Can We Talk?
Yeah, which I love. Absolutely love that. There's something really routine about eating. It's something we don't have to overly think about. We were talking as well. We're both similar age, aren't we? That, having a warming soup and a conversation over soup is part of most people's childhood, especially good old tin soup. And I just think that really does break barriers. But what you want to do, and what you want to do more of, is basically getting Britain talking, because as a society in Britain, we are notoriously rubbish at sharing emotion. We're getting better. But you've come up with this concept that I absolutely love. Can we talk? Like a tin of soup, for anyone who hasn't quite picked up on that at the moment.
Yes,
and I absolutely love that. And if it's all right to say, do you know what's really interesting? I just clicked with you the minute I met with you. We just clicked. It is so interesting that you just brought up a moment ago that when you look back through your videos, you can see change. So one of the things you might not know about me is I like to do my research on my podcast guests. I went back through them all, and I saw that, and I heard it as well. Heard it in your voice. I saw it in your mannerisms, as well as how you looked facially. And that journey is quite incredible. And what I was also thinking, if it's okay to say, when we put your social media handles on, I would like people to go and see that for themselves as well, that journey. So this isn't just about getting people talking. I sound really stalkery now, don't I? But it was purely for research purposes. But it's quite powerful. So, you don't have to be a psychologist to pick up on that. I could see the change in you, your mannerisms, your face, the way you talked. That's really important, because sometimes people don't realize, or perhaps I think underestimate, the power of a simple conversation over something routine, like having a bowl of soup. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Now I've scared you with my stalkery routine.
No. You're my first stalker.
Oh, I'm really honoured to have that title.
But I think it's that kind of thing of who knew? I did.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when I started it that it would like be something that would help me.
Yeah.
And I think from even doing like the live reviews, there was some people that had watched them and they came to the show, not because like
Wow.
they knew me or anything like that. It was just they'd seen the soup reviews and they were like, they're quite funny, and then just bought a ticket to come and see the live show, which was crazy. I think I'll have to do that again, really, actually.
But it's also amazing. So something because obviously there's the humour. You're a funny guy. You're really witty. You know, you're lovely to be around. But I'm also wondering, on a more serious note as well, that something resonated with people that they obviously wanted to hear more of as well. Because it takes a lot, doesn't it, to be vulnerable and share your story. Sometimes we haven't done that before. And you and I had a conversation about this, that we may, you know, bring elements of our life history into our work or sharing with others. But sometimes we don't always have a really raw, organic conversation about it. And I think it's lovely that, thank you for coming on and sharing it with us, but also that you've been able to see the change in you, that you've benefited from sharing as well. And I'm not sure everyone always realizes that it's not just about helping other people, but it can be beneficial to share your own story, to hear and talk about it.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, I think like because talking about being vulnerable is like, I remember at acting school, it was one of the things my teacher Jeanette, she was like, you know, if you can show that, then as an actor, it's kind of, you let people in, you got them. Do you know what I mean? So like I could, so I was quite good at doing it on stage. Yeah. But then I think in real life, I would go out and just have this character that was like, I'm all right, everything's fine, and then I'd go home and cry my eyes out. So it was kind of like another performance in a way. And I think
I'm glad you shared that. Yeah.
Well, I think the soup thing was the first time in a way that it was like I could talk directly and as me, not have as such a character when I go out, because you know, oh, he's all right, he's funny, and you know. But that's the thing. I think most people do have a mask on there.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And humour, if it's all right to bring that in, then quite often people will use humour as a way of deflecting because it works. You know, it can keep. Sometimes in psychology we say if this is kind of you and all your difficult emotions and thoughts, and this is other people, sometimes it helps create a little bit of a gap or a bit of daylight. And
yes,
if we know it works, we're more likely to carry on using it, aren't we? Because that's the way that our brain works. It goes, this is great, it's a great idea, let's do more. At what point, if it's all right to say, did you notice that happening more and more often? You know, the kind of, this is me outside, but then look what I'm experiencing on the inside when I'm home.
I think like when I realised there was summing up, is because I think a lot of people don't realise they're actually depressed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah.
I think you just think this is it, this is life, it's a bit shit. But I think I honestly think I was depressed for so long.
Really?
Before ever really realising, and I remember having a chat with I had a therapist for a bit, and you know, it was like, crikey, you've not been all right for ages. Do you know what I mean? And then you kind of, I remember, I think I was meeting my brother and his family for lunch, and I remember walking through Brighton, and I just started crying, and I was like, oh God, because it normally I was all right, I could hold it, and then I started crying. I was like, shit, I have to sort myself out. So I kind of, then I went in the restaurant, and it was my brother's little kids, and they looked at me and they were like, are you all right? And they knew I wasn't all right. And I think like adults will see you.
Really good point.
Yeah, they won't. They'll go, oh, he might not be all right, but I'm not going to say anything. Whereas a kid goes, you're all right, you know. And I was like, oh no. So I think then that, you know, once I realised that there was something really not right, and then getting a bit of help, and I think stopping drinking was massive, really.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of people, you say you stop drinking, and people go, they think you had a drink problem, but it wasn't that. It was just that
Good point.
just didn't like how I felt when I woke up.
Yeah.
You know, drinking was like I was, you know, probably taking away the pain of it all.
It's a disinhibitor,
But
isn't
waking
it?
up,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good.
But it can also lead to lowered moods. It's interesting, you know, in terms of, you know, people might use alcohol, quite commonly is used as a way of coping with life's demands. It's quite cyclical, isn't it? Again, the brain goes, hey, this works, let's do more of this. But it also takes quite a lot to what we call formulate that and go, hang on a minute, this is how I feel when I drink, this is how I feel when after. But also, actually, do you know what? This is what I'm noticing in my mood. Is it all right to ask, what kind of help did you get? And how easy was it to reach out for that help as well?
Do you know what? It was like, I think I remember going, like, it was my 40th birthday, and I think I'd posted on Facebook that I wasn't all right. And I think my dad's sister in Australia saw it, and she phoned my dad up and was like, Christopher's not all right. You know, like, and he kind of found out through that way because none of them knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, but then my friend April, we went for, she always knew I wasn't all right. That was the thing about like April. She's like, she just knew. Yeah. But then it was at a cafe, and she just went online and got this number for a therapist and just handed me the phone. I was like, there you go, speak to them. And I was like, oh, can I make an appointment? And made an appointment. And that moment there, I was like, it sort of lifted something as well. So I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
I knew I had to go to that now. So then I think went to the doctors, and the doctor, she was great as well. She was kind of like, they started me on propranolol, like a beta blocker thing, which I don't know whether it's just like a in the head thing, that, because I don't know whether it does much. I don't know. But taking that first pill as well was like, it sort of settled me. I thought, oh, that's what I need. And then weirdly, I kind of used therapy to write the show, Superman.
But that's okay. Great, the reason that I've asked that, just as a guy as well, is actually can be quite hard, even if you recognize something isn't right, to actually then take that step. And actually, a lot of people that I see, sometimes it can take weeks, even months, for them to actually make an appointment and get through the door. But also letting people know that is really normal, and that can be part of the process. But also just being heard, what it's like for people to hear when you're saying that you're not okay, because I think that's really important. Sometimes we can meet.
I think like, yeah, I mean, I've got family that you kind of, I could tell anything, you know. I've done a triplet. I've got two brothers. It's the same.
I know.
I remember a couple of times with them, I'd go like, oh, I don't think I'm all right. But I think it must have been hard for them as well to take that on board. Because, you know, essentially we're all blokes, the three of us. We're all the same. And for me to go like, I'm not all right, it was like probably quite hard for them to hear. But I would say, just, you know, that first appointment with a therapist, because then I knew I had there was maybe hope. Because
I'm so glad you brought that in.
Feeling hopeless. Yeah. Go on.
There's a big scientific basis behind hope. I don't think we talk about it enough. Especially when you're low in mood, it can be really hard to sometimes see a way out of that or a way forward. And And there are a lot of wonderful new emerging studies about kind of scientific bases of hope, how it can impact us. And just as well, bringing in that element about therapy, there can be some misconceptions, can't there, about therapy and what it is, what it isn't. And sometimes having that more neutral space to talk, somebody who is trained to be able to hold stuff and not to jump into problem solving, which sometimes maybe family or friends might, naturally want to do, kind of fix it for you, or even not know what to say. And sometimes that can lead people to backing off. So I do think it's important to kind of bring in that, formal therapy can be a really useful space to work through some of this.
Go on.
Working your way forward with, what's next.
Yeah, definitely. I think because if you're going to talk to your friends, adults, but it is adults. I mean, because kids are spotting a mile off. They're going, he's not all right. Yeah. But if you're going to talk to adults, chances are you might have that mask up. So I think talking to someone you don't know, and initially it is quite daunting and kind of embarrassing and but then when you go so do you mean I can just talk? And they go, yeah. And you go, okay. And then it's like, oh, that's the mask. And you to have someone you can just talk to and tell stuff you wouldn't tell anyone, and I think that's the thing, the hurdle you've got to get over is just go and talk.
Really good point. Yeah. Is it all right to ask then, were there times for you, because sometimes putting that mask on could be really effortful, can't it, as well? And that can sometimes add to the cycle of low mood. But were there things that you kind of held on to that you didn't feel you can say to people? Was it useful to be able to talk that through with someone?
Yeah, I mean, I think just waking up feeling so low, and kind of, I think it's funny, and it's like when you don't want to be around anymore. It's not so much like that. The world will be a better place with you. It's just that you don't know if you can do another day feeling like that. That's what it was for me. I just thought I can't keep feeling like this every day. And I think I sort of booked a room in London in a hotel, and I booked my train ticket because I was like, I'm going to go up there and do it there because I didn't want to mess anything up. But it was and I think I told my brother that, and he really, that sort of hit home for him then, that it's real. It's a real thing.
So let's bring this in then, because you've agreed, but you've not talked openly, publicly about this before, have you?
No. You
got to the point where you considered and actually had a plan of ending your life, didn't you? And what's really interesting is I think that will resonate with people, actually, that feeling of not being able to go on feeling like that.
Yeah, that's... Go on.
What I was going to say, what stopped you? Big, bold question from me.
That's a good question. I was just seeing if my seagull was there.
We'll bring that in. We'll bring that in too.
Yeah. What stopped me? I think it was like I didn't want to. With my brother's kids, I was like, I can't have them going, oh, where's Uncle Christopher? And them having to, so that was a huge part of I thought I can't leave them. And also I think just having I thought there's more stuff I want to do, but I have to get past this feeling. So that's so when the therapy was booked, and I started to enjoy going every week. I was like looking forward to that because I knew whatever happened in the week, I'd be able to get stuff off my chest. And as an outlet, that was brilliant. That was like, my God.
A really good point. Yeah. Like kind of knowing there's like a safe place. Because one of the things about therapy is that it's a safe place. There's something predictable about knowing what room you're going to be in. There's so many little factors that can actually make quite a big difference to someone when they're feeling kind of overwhelmed or the world's a tricky place. Is it all right to ask? So you reached out to your brother. You kind of told them what the plan was. What happened next?
What, like, because that was, I told them after I'd kind of got a bit of help. So it wasn't like I was going to go do it and then so, but that kind of hit home for them. And I think, you know, that thing of not talking, because so many guys don't, and you know, and I think, you know, you have a few beers with your brothers, and you talk, you know, I love you, all this. But you know, sober, the next day, no one talks. No one has mentioned it. It's really funny.
Good point. It is.
Isn't it? So.
And how many people that will resonate with? Because, you know, when you see, you know, there's a lot of campaigns that we might see from various mental health charities about, you know, it's good to talk, but I like to also deconstruct, well, what does that look like? What does it look like now? And how do you want it to be different? So I might notice that if I'm out with friends or we're having a drink or a laugh, maybe I'm more likely to talk about emotions, but what could that look like on a more regular basis? How could we have a bit more of a shift in how we have conversations in our society about well-being when we're not okay?
Yeah.
How do we check in on our friends?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, imagine if you had like an hour in a pub where no one drank, but you all just talked, checked in. Like, because you go to the pub to get drunk, don't you? You know, your local pub doing a check-in. So we're not going to get drunk. Just going to talk. If there's anything, just say it.
Yeah.
Quite helpful, isn't it?
But I like that model of the check-in. Because there is a difference, isn't there, between waiting for people to initiate, and that can be really hard because there may be, and I've certainly worked with people or had friends where you may want to say something or they may want, but it's really hard to know how to start, when to do it. You know, all those lovely things we have about I don't want to burden people or they might have stuff going on, is how we help people start to check in, which kind of brings me back to the soup thing and your idea for getting people to check in with each other and getting guys to check in with each other as well. And what are your next steps? What could that look like? How can we get people to check in, to have conversations, to be able to maybe hold those conversations a bit better as well? Because that's also a tricky thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so I've sort of been thinking that if I'm doing it with a sort of, you know, like a guest, bowl of soup, I think it's something that you could promote with other guys, like get a bowl of soup and video call your mate and just eat the soup and talk whatever comes up. No force thing. You could follow me rules of having a review, mate. You know, do the review yourself for a laugh. You get a horrible tasting soup, but
like pin ham,
you can have a chat. Yeah. Can't believe you like that. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen. Now I don't want to see it, do I?
Oh my God, it's one of the worst ones ever. Pea and ham.
You can see me in
really
a whole different
child in the 80s.
Oh no, I am. I'll hold my hands up to that.
But yeah, I think definitely, you know, it'd be nice to have some sort of thing of, you know, Thursday night where we have a bowl of soup and if your mate's not all right, have a chat. Keep the format, you know. Come on with me if you want.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say, so if anybody is interested in coming on, we'll make sure that we put in the show notes how people can find you. what I really love, because actually that links back to the lockdown, that, you know, one of the things about that is that quite often we created a routine. So we might have, you know, FaceTime family members and had a meal or whatever once a week. And sometimes routine and predictability is really good for our well-being. So, you know, your concept, it's such a simple concept, and I think that's why it works. There's also that lovely humorous element, which means it's not quite so scary to start to talk about difficult things, but also making those difficult things more routine to talk about. You know, check in with your mates over a bowl of soup. I think it's fantastic, but also because it's not that directive. We're having a call and we're going to talk about mental health organically. You've said that a few times actually in this podcast, letting things come up organically as well. Conversation flows a bit better when we're engaged in an activity as well, which I absolutely love. And I love, I'm going to keep bringing that in, just the can we talk, you know, question mark. Some people might find it hard, but it's also, there's so many ways you can take that, you know, can we have a talk because I need to? Can we? Is it allowed? You know, in terms of men talking about their feelings, there's so many different offshoots from that.
Yeah, I think it kind of encapsulates everything, doesn't it?
It does,
you know,
which is why I loved it when you said it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll be on board with that, because I think it's a really fantastic thing. And for those that know me, when we're kind of working with mental health, I like really simple concepts, things that people are more likely to be able to use and therefore get good at, build into their routine. That's what makes really good mental health, because actually in a way it becomes more of a, sorry, I'm getting very academic now, but more of a preventative model, so that we don't just wait till we're at crisis point, something's going on, that we are getting Britain talking, you know, routinely, making it more, dare I say it, but it's a useful word, normalizing those conversations around well-being, that it's okay to do, but also perhaps, and I'm thinking as well, it's all right to bring in Chris, modeling it for maybe the younger generation as well, you know, seeing people being okay talking about it, but with that wonderful element of humor. And he was great. I had an absolutely fantastic time with you the other week. There was so much humor, and it is so good for you, isn't it? It's kind of visceral. And I think that's the thing that really resonated with me about this, that there is that wonderful humor element as well. And just coming back to the point before, that you've noticed what your journey was like when you began to talk. You could see it in yourself. I could see it. I could hear it when I watched back in those videos. And I'm hoping that maybe other people would take the time to go and see that as well. One of the things, I know I have really, really bad taste in soup. What is it about soup? What was it about tin soup? Rather than any other product that you could have reviewed? Because that's the one question that I still haven't managed to ask yet.
Well, I think it was, there's like a connection, isn't there, between the can I say the shitness of a tin of soup? Yeah.
Bring it in. Let's own it. Let's lead into that.
I mean, because, you know, like I remember Heinz, I was starting to do a few, and they were messaging me, and, you know, and they're not silly. They know some of them are awful, but they also know that there's a certain demographic that would have grown up on that and would absolutely like for me, oxtail. I love it. I mean, I don't know if that's even beef in it or whatever it is. And there's like about 8 bits of diced carrot that looks like someone's puked in it.
It's almost so awful, it's good.
So I think it was like, and you know, it was cheap. I quite like the idea of just, there will be ones that I wouldn't like. I don't really like lumpy soups that much.
So you're not a Scots broth person then?
No, have you seen that one?
I love Scots broth. I have such bad taste in soup. You're discovering a lot about me today.
It's worrying. But yeah, I think like I remember going to like, you go to Asda or the shops and there's just so much. And I thought I could do it, you know, how long is it going to take me to get better? Will it take all of those soups, or will it take 20, you know?
That's a powerful
So
metaphor.
I think that
was that.
Yeah, how many soups will it take for you to get better? So you know, I remember doing the first one, and it was like, I came off going, I enjoyed that. I mean, I look like awful, but but then you can watch it back and you go, oh, that's quite funny. It made me laugh. And then there'd be little things that during it, you know, the little whistle and the little stuff. But it was like a nice, happy place to be.
That's what struck me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was very happy. Like, I want to do them again, actually. I think I need them.
So you're looking at relaunching this, aren't you? So kind of revising and bringing it back. Because I think it's fantastic concept. But the thing I'm also thinking, when I'm looking back on my childhood, when I see a tin of soup, even if it's in the supermarket or wherever, even if it's not at home, there's just, your brain kind of is really good at making links and memories and associations with things. There's something comforting about seeing a can of soup. And I don't know, that might just be me, but whether, you know, by opening it, the ritual, the way that you heat it up, whatever, we'll all have our own little style, but there's something quite comforting, quite predictable. And that's what humans like. We like comfort, we like predictability. There's something about warmth. So a warm bowl of soup, warm cup of tea, whatever it is, that will help activate our inner self-soothing system. So there's so much here. It's very rich.
Yeah.
A bit like some of the soups. And I think it's lovely. I really do. Where can people find you if they need to find you? Where do you hang out on socials? I will make sure that I put all this in the show notes so people can just click on and go find you as well.
Well, I suppose I'm on Instagram. I think that's Superman 1479, spelled
as
soup.
in tin of soup. I love that.
I think Facebook there's a soup review page, Chris's Soup Reviews, and then Chris Willoughby. But I need to do more really, because I'm, you know, now I'm getting back into my soups, just pulling my socks up.
The soup revival.
Yeah,
one of the lovely things about the show notes is that they stay live, so we can just keep updating them, which is brilliant. So we know people are more likely to kind of link than to remember a kind of an auditory version of a Facebook or a handle, which I think is fantastic. So when you look back on your journey, when you look back at what you've been through, and thank you for feeling able and safe enough to share that with us, is there any little adversity takeaway that you could give us? I always like to ask people, we've had a lot, if there was one little nugget that you could give us, what would that be?
What, like a tip?
Yeah, or just one little reflection, one thing about coping with what you've been through.
I think definitely for me was when I just realised what's important. I think that was quite what you value over, you know, so you can go to work and you can worry and all that, and it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Or you can worry about the good stuff, you know, but also I think just realizing the absurdity of everything. Laugh at it. Yeah, like, I mean, because I wake up in the morning sometimes, I look in the mirror and I just laugh. And it's so,
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the concept.
Yeah. No, but it's great, isn't it? And you kind of go, I mean, have you ever looked at your bank account and it's like minus, and you just start laughing? It's like, I mean, what am I going to do? It doesn't matter. Right.
That kind of the power of how hooky the mind can be with its thoughts, and it can just send us all sorts of stuff. And how
I think,
sometimes
you
that
want
can
something
become
bad
overwhelming.
Something bad will happen. Yeah. So
that kind of ability to just laugh. And do you know what I'm going to bring in as well? Laughing with someone.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of laughing with you, and I felt incredible. It's nice to be able to laugh with someone, especially if you have a similar sense of humor as well. And I think one of the things that people might take, if they have a look back at some of the videos that you've done already to kind of get a sense of you, is the kind of stuff that you find funny, I think resonates with, well, it certainly resonates with me. It's just really nice to watch. So, you know, wit, humor, it's priceless, isn't it? And, you know, I'm a long way from my stand-up ready, but I'm learning. I think it's an incredible skill to have. You're not allowed to comment on that.
I think that's the thing. As long as it makes you laugh,
Yeah.
That's all that matters. I think.
I make myself laugh a lot.
For me.
Not everyone else laughs,
Yeah.
but I laugh at myself quite often.
No,
So you might laugh at yourself in the mirror. I laugh at what I say to myself, or sometimes even what I think in my head.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm very glad that it sometimes stays in my head.
Yeah, see, I've started saying it, and I'd probably get in trouble for that. But that's another point of going. I'm just going to say it because it releases. Otherwise, I'm going to go home and wish I'd have said it.
The power of the frontal lobes, that sometimes we might want to inhibit ourselves in terms of what we say. Now, I need to bring in an extra special guest. So, Therapy Seagull. Can we bring in? Have we got time to bring in Therapy Seagull? This is almost another whole Instagram in itself. So for people that don't know, you live down in Brighton. Let's give people a little bit of context, because I have some people that listen all over the world. So you live in Brighton, which is south of London on the south coast of the UK, by the sea.
Yeah.
And you have a chum, don't you?
Best mate. Yeah. So during lockdown, this little baby seagull turned up. And normally they're there, wah, 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 and you're kind of like, go on. But being that like there was no one else literally to talk to, we're all locked away, I thought I'll let him stay. And then he sort of just came back again, and then I was like, maybe I can feed him. So I fed him, and then 4 years later, he's now a fully grown therapy seagull. It's like,
I love that.
So he's here every day. Not now, obviously.
So that wonderful human, animal, bird, avian, is that the word? Connection.
Yeah. I mean, I think he saved me, because like coming into that was like I was kind of depressed, and then coming into 2020.
Yeah.
Then then we had the lockdown. And it was, sort of every morning waking up, and I'd look over and he'd be there, and it was like,
wow.
I mean, even just watching him was very calming.
Yeah. Because
he would just sit there, and like the wind's blowing, it could be raining, he stands there and sits down and that. But and I could walk home and he's there waiting.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I had absolutely, I feel really ignorant now. I had absolutely no idea that you could create such a bond with a seagull.
Yeah.
I might have to, in our promotion, maybe get a photo of Therapy Seagull and tag him on. There might even be another whole podcast episode in itself there, Chris, I think, on, I've done a podcast episode before, actually, we have a mutual friend on the kind of human-animal connection. But even though we're having a giggle, it's actually really important, isn't it? It can be really powerful.
Yeah, I think if something like a little seagull can take the time to come and check you're all right, then humans should be able to do it, shouldn't they? I mean, he probably isn't.
That's a really good point. Really good point. Does he have a name? Will she?
Yeah, Squawky.
Squawky.
Yeah, because he doesn't really squawk a lot. I think it's a he as well.
I don't know how you know.
Well, apparently they are very difficult to sex. That means tell whether they're male or female or not have sex with. Believe me, I've tried.
We promised we weren't going to go down a certain route.
Okay. But yeah, so I think he when they have their young, he's off for about a month and a half, so he's protecting them.
So there's lots of little baby squawkies around, which is just lovely, isn't it? And I wonder who else they're visiting. So I wonder how many babies he's had over the years then since that first lockdown. I don't know how often.
Imagine they've got his genes, and they want to go and help people.
Yeah. Another whole, literally butterfly effect, but with seagulls.
Yeah.
Chris, that hour has flown by.
Oh, God. Oh,
I was just
crikey,
say, it's literally flown by. I am really tempted, actually, because there is a part of me that when you start up your soup again, that we get you back on and cover this a little bit more, because there is actually so much more that I would like to talk about as well, which is not usually a surprise with me. I'm having more and more people that are coming back on.
I'd love to, definitely.
I think you have a lot to share for people. But thank you so much. I can't wait to get this episode out there. And we don't need to do too much editing, do we? Thankfully. Not too much we need to cut out.
That last little bit.
I'm going to keep that in. It's real. Brilliant. It's real. We're rated as X, so we're okay.